Alright, first check of the year, coming out of winter, 2024. Let's see how they did. Not seeing a lot of activity. That's a little bit concerning. We got some here, but some of these hives don't look like they got much going on. Looks like horses have scooted that one back. You can see bottom board sticking out a little bit. That hive's been turned. All these have been bunched together. And this one's been knocked plumb off. Looks like scavengers. Not much going on there. Let's get into it. Alright, first and foremost, we're going to dig into this knocked over hive. Get this bottom board up here. Alright, if you want to see a video on how I did the insulation, I'll post a link to it up here on the top of the screen. And just click on that and you can watch it. Looks like this hive here has seen better days. Completely been emptied of any and all resources. Ain't nothing in there. Nada. I see a little remnant of bees here that are dead. You see right there. They look like they've been dead for a while. They got some mold growing on them and stuff. This hive was not doing very well at the beginning of winter, and they didn't have the numbers they needed. And I could have combined them, but by the time I realized how low in numbers they were, it was already getting pretty cold. So I just left it the way it is. So I'm not entirely surprised that this hive has died, but the animals knocking these hives over is no bueno. We're not going to be able to keep doing that, so we're going to have to figure something out to keep the horses away from the hives. Okay, now this was another hive that was not doing super well at the beginning of winter, but they had more numbers than the hive right next to it, so let's see how they are doing if they're still here. Got our burlap insulation in here. And looks like they didn't get after their sugar. I think again we just have scavengers in here. These paper towels retain the moisture. I can already tell this is dead out, so just crack her open here. See what we got. Yep, it's already been robbed out. I don't see many bees in the bottom. Right there's a small pocket of bees that held on to the last. A little bit of brood there. A little bit of bees right there. Matter of fact, that looks like the queen. Maybe not. No, I don't see the queen. Anyway, just a little tiny bit of bees. Didn't make it. Now this hive ended up getting knocked over in the middle of winter. I believe the horses knocked it over. And I found it maybe a week later. So I'm not sure how they made it either. Oh yeah, there's bees in there, boys. Look at that. These bees persevered. If you can see down in there, but there's quite a few bees down in them cracks right there, so they came through it just fine. Okay, here I have a homemade pollen patty. I bought the pollen patty material from, I think it was Man Lake or Better Be, one of the two. And just got some parchment paper, sandwiched it between, and then flattened it out pretty thin. And it'll just lay here on top of the hive. We'll move some of this sugar back. Take out some of this paper towel just to get it out of the way. I'm going to mark these up with my hive tool. Just kind of tear into them like this. And that gives the bees easier access to the patty. I'm actually going to move this forward, this backwards. And we're going to put this kind of right in the middle here. Just like that. Move that out the way so this lays flat. And we'll tear up this side a little bit so they ain't got to work so hard to get through that paper. The bees will chew the paper. They'll actually get it out of their way, just chew it up and get right to the pollen. So they'll have total access to this. Now, why do we put pollen patties on in the early springtime? Pollen patties can be a good thing and they can be a bad thing. If you go too early with a pollen patty, what pollen does is it starts basically telling the queen that it's time to start laying eggs. And so whenever natural pollen resources are beginning to appear in nature, the bees start bringing it in, the queen realizes the increase in pollen, and she starts laying more, and that's how hives build up and get stronger in the spring in anticipation of the honey flow in the latter part of the springtime. So by putting pollen patties on, you basically are telling the queen to get busy earlier than when nature starts putting out the pollen. And what that does is that helps build up your hive and get it good and strong, so that whenever the honey flow comes, they're really, really powerful. And being that I've lost several hives this year, I'm going to try to do some splits on some of these stronger hives, and I want them to be as strong as possible when I do those splits. The thing is, if you put a pollen patty on too early, the queen starts laying those eggs and getting those babies going. Well, the bees that are in here, the nurse bees, they have to stay with the babies to keep them warm. They've got to stay over top of them, keep it about 80, 90 degrees on those bees. And sorry, I got some bees trying to get out of this box here. So anyway, the nurse bees will stay on top of those bees. Well, if all of a sudden you get a real cold snap, gets down into single digits or teens, the bees will want to ball back up to stay warm like they do, and the nurse bees won't leave the new babies. The nurse bees will end up dying, and you can lose your whole hive by getting a little too early of a start with this stuff. We're in the end of February here in West Virginia, and it's 60 degrees today. The extended forecast into March looks like it's favorable weather. Still getting cold at night, but it shouldn't be anything that the bees can't handle. It gets down to, like 30 at night, somewhere in there. And so we're going to go ahead and put them on, and hope we can get them built up good and strong before it's time to start really manipulating these girls and getting them producing some honey and producing some splits. Now, one thing I'm also going to do to help out if perhaps it does get a little too cold is I'm going to leave the insulation on them, and the insulation in the top of the box just to help them maintain their heat and be able to do well if they start getting too many babies going and all of a sudden a cold snap rolls in. So that should help them out. Probably won't take this insulation off until mid to late March, and they'll do fine with the insulation. Even if it gets warm, they'll be fine. There's plenty of ventilation on this hive. All right, now we're going to have a look into this next hive, see how they're doing, if they're doing. I see bees. Yeah, they're wanting out of there something fierce. I can see them trying real hard to get out of there. They don't like me slamming this lid down. They're going to try and eat me up. Alright guys, just chill out. Just chill out. Let's do this. Hey, yep, like I said, they're not happy. Now the one thing I've done, I've also cut the excess paper off all the way around, just so they don't have as much to deal with. Let's see here. Go ahead and tear into this. Just like that. And then we're going to lay it right here. Like that, I guess. That'd be good. Whoops, sorry guys. There we go. Alright, so this hive here was my strongest hive last year. And right before winter, they seemed like they weren't doing as well. Still had a good bit of bees, but they were down quite a bit from what they were. I made a video called, I think it was, They Tried to Kill Me. And this was the hive. And I mean, they were just completely crazy whenever I broke into them. They were all over me. If I hadn't had a suit on, I'd probably be dead. And I'd say they're going to be a little bit more chilled today probably, but I can feel the box. It's heavy, so I think they still have quite a bit of honey left. I hope that doesn't mean that they've perished and all their honey's still there, but we'll get into it and find out here. Oh yeah, if you're interested in watching that video of them trying to kill me, I'll link it right up here. You'll see it pop up on the screen. Just click right there and you can watch it. Oh, I hear buzzing. They're definitely in there. Oh yeah. Quite a few of them in there. You can see they haven't really gotten into their honey, or their, not honey, they haven't really gotten into their sugar yet. I'm going to try and slide this sugar back. And see how jumpy they are? I just touched the sugar and they're getting all excited. Move very slow with these gals. Alright, I'm going to lay this right on the edge here. Just like so. Alright, that is way different from the crazy video from last year. They were quite a bit more chilled out this time. Okay, now we're moving over to this second side. We have hives over here and hives over here. Get into these. I don't see much activity down here at all. We'll find out what's going on. Well, I really don't know. They look dead, but are they? Take this out and hand hold it. Just get a little closer view here. You can see they're all just kind of in suspended animation. Let me blow on them a little bit. No movement. Get this bee here, but I think he's an outsider. I don't know. I don't know if they're alive, or I've seen videos where they warm up and do fine after the heat gets on them. I mean, obviously they've ate a line out of this sugar. I don't know about that. I think I might just close them up and hope that they thaw out and make it. If not, then that might be a lost hive. All right, next one over. See what we got. Not seeing anything down in there. Oh, hold on. I hear buzzing. There is some activity. Look at that. I think they're still alive, but they're down to bare minimums on their numbers. Okay, now on this particular hive, since there's such a small amount of bees, I'm going to cut this patty right in half here. And I'm just going to give them about that much. And I'm going to put it right on top of them there. And I'm going to bump this sugar right up to the edge here so they can get to it easier. Might even put a little bit of this sugar back in here. Alright, now this hive has moved back and has quite a gap down here. I don't know if that's done anything to them, but we're going to find out. Yeah, there's plenty of bees down in there. Look at that. As a matter of fact, this hive's pretty much full. Alright, it's all scratched up, ready to go in the hive. We're just going to lay it a long ways right across the top of the bees. Alright, that'll give you guys a little bit better look so you can see what we got going on. So move some of the sugar over here to the side, out of the way. Pollen patty on top. There's quite a few bees in this one, so it's still pretty strong. I'm going to throw them an extra thing of sugar in here. Alright, I got another thing of sugar. Let me see if I can scrape some of this burr comb off of here, just so that the sugar doesn't stand up any higher than it needs to. Sorry about that, guys. I should say gals. Alright, I'll stick the other piece kind of back there. Okay, so I have my inner covers flipped upside down so that there's more depth between the frames and the top of the inner cover. That way the sugar bricks that I've got can sit in there and have the room that is needed. So let me get this scooted back up onto its board. You guys have glued it down, haven't you? I'll just cool your jets. We're going to have you put to bed here shortly. Move that off of there so I can see what's going on. Okay, that's loose enough. I'm going to pick this hive up and look underneath. Just wanted to be sure that I didn't have any standing water on this board. All right. It looks like that's the way it should be. Okay, that hive's squared away for now. Yeah, no, get out of here. All right, last but not least, the hive on the end. This hive here is the first hive I had out here on the farm. I actually caught this hive in a swarm trap down by the creek, which is just a little ways down from here. And It was just a little tiny swarm, I mean a handful of bees maybe, and they grew into a larger hive. Let's look and see how they've done throughout the winter. Sorry guys. Girls, I mean. Oh yeah. They're doing good. Alright, so they're actively working on this sugar pretty good. I'm going to try and take some of this paper towel out of here. Go over this way. And we'll lay the pollen patty right there. All marked up, ready to go. I guess I'm going to have to do something else here with this big block. Lay it down like that, and I'll just turn this big block sideways. There we go. Mark up the top here. Burlap back in. Done. All right, so there you have it. I have 6 hives that made it. Unless that one hive is just frozen in place and thaws out, we'll see what happens. That would be 7 hives. I went into winter with 17 hives. I've got 6. Now a big reason for that is I had some honey from last year's harvest that I guess you'd call went bad, soured, whatever you would call it. It got cloudy in the jar, and not from crystallization, but just something's in the honey that ain't supposed to be in the honey. And it smells like old wet socks, and just went bad. I've checked the moisture content on it. Moisture content's right where it needs to be. I just don't know. Something in there's not good. And so I ended up pouring some of the honey outside and let the bees have it back. And they took it into their hive back at my house. And before it even got cold, I lost every hive at my house, all 8 of them. And I had some pretty strong hives there. So I don't know what was in that honey, but it killed them all. And so I'm going to be deconstructing all those hives, taking all the frames out, removing any honey in there, stripping the frames down so that there's no contaminants in the comb, and basically I'll be starting over with those hives. Out here, the hives that I've lost are just due to poor numbers or animals knocking them over. But like I say, I've got 6 hives right now. So hopefully I can do 6 splits this year, be up to 12, and we'll just kind of start from scratch basically and get back up and going. Anyway, they've got their pollen patties, and hopefully they'll get back up and running really fast, start growing, and we'll have some pretty strong hives by the time the honey flow kicks in, and I'll be able to split these hives and do pretty well. But in the meantime, I'm going to monitor them, make sure they don't run out of sugar before they can find some natural food out in the wild. And we'll just keep an eye on them and see how they do. I'll also be making a video about the hives I lost at my house, and basically show what it looks like inside the hive and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to see that, go ahead and subscribe and stick around, and hit the bell notification so that you can see whenever it pops up. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for sticking with me on this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye. And here's the culprits right now. Y'all like knocking over hives, huh?